Welcome back to Total War Therapy, and today here we are with the ultimate guide to any artillery and war machine from the Dwarfs roster. My friends are coming to make the lasagna and we don't have a lot of time, so don't forget to subscribe, let's keep in touch for the next poll and let's begin. The first unit we're gonna talk about, because it's the cheapest artillery piece in this roster, even if probably the least favorite of the community, is the Bolt Thrower. Now, the Bolt Thrower is supposed to be a medium long range artillery piece specialized against large units. This at least in theory, because in the practice it deals no damage to anything. There are many problems with this unit. First, the very low damage of 61 that they tried to compensate it in the very recent time, adding 4 units more, 4 entities more to the unit, so now is the only artillery field with 8 units instead of 4. And then there is this range of 340 that it's a problem also because there is a 18 seconds reload time. So this machine not only deals no damage, but it's even very slow at hitting the target. I made a video about bolt throwers in this game and I can tell you that they perform better than I expected. But still, if you don't have the problem of range superiority because you have other artillery pieces, in that case you can just replace the bolt thrower with some missile infantry that they will do just a better job. The second unit we're gonna talk about is the Grudge Thrower. Now, this is a very nice piece of artillery with a good range of 440. The only problem with this kind of unit, and I mean catapult and the mortars, is that when you play in this game with the easy difficulty setting, they will actually hit the target, but when you play with the high difficulty setting, the enemy will actively try to dodge your shots, so they will end up doing a great job only to distract units and to hit the missile infantry that it's shooting. The missile strength of 145, armor piercing, one of the few artillery with explosive damage. The reload time is still 20, so a little slow, but I had a lot of fun with this unit in this game and I would suggest to recruit a couple of them from the early to the mid campaign before you can replace them with other stuff. The third unit we're gonna talk about is the cannons. Now, cannons is a tricky unit in this game because they deal a lot of damage, but they are very niche and they require a high management. They have a lower arch compared to catapults and bolt throwers, but they have a very long range of 440 and with a 191 of missile strength, armor piercing, and in this case is truly armor piercing in the way that if you hit heavy, very heavy and armored targets, they will deal a lot of damage. Then the reload time is 22, that it's a lot, so they will need a lot of time to do a great job. That's why you have to protect them very well. You have to be very careful because the enemy will try to charge them, and with this very long reload time it will be very easy for a cavalry unit to reach you and hit you. Compared to the bolt thrower, here we have an actual artillery piece specialized against large units, so use it wisely against single entities, or I mean big stuff overall. I would suggest to recruit just one of them in your army because, as I say, they are a little tricky, they are slow and they need the high level of protection. Now let's talk about the Goblin Hewer. Now, this is another very complex and probably the weirdest unit of this roster. It has a very short range of 80, but a big damage of 3k, anti-large, armor piercing. What you have to remember about this unit is that even if it doesn't look like, they shoot with the arch line, so you can deploy them at the back of your front line well defended. This is very important because with this short range you will not have a lot of time to deal damage. Their reload time is just 4 and the volleys are 38. That means that this 3k damage is not one shot but is 38 different shots. That's why it's very effective even against infantry, against cavalry, because I mean, yeah, there are many different bullets and in these cases axes that are hitting the target. The ammunition is very low, it's just 4, but as I said, they perform in any case quite well, and at the end when you will finish your ammo you will have access to this lower number unit of slayers that yeah, you can still use it against large units or in general in melee. Honestly, I don't use them a lot in my campaigns because they are not solid units, they require a high management, but yeah, you can give a try and you will have a lot of fun with them. Now let's talk about the organ guns. They are an artillery piece quite in the middle of all the other units we already talked about. They have one of the shorter range of 300, but the damage is of 300 armor piercing with 4 volleys per machine, with a reload time of 12 seconds that for this kind of high damage dealer units it's very short. They are considered by the community the best, the ultimate anti-large artillery piece in the dwarf roster. They actually perform very well against a large unit, even if they are not made exclusively for them, and this makes them very versatile. So you can use it against multiple kinds of unit, against everything: characters, single entities, cavalry, heavy infantry, and they will perform always very well. But yeah, take into consideration the short range that is compensated by the short reload time and the low arch line of shooting. So they require protection, they require management, and if you do everything correctly, you will see nice things. Now let's talk about the flame cannons of dwarves. They have the shorter range of 280 with a lot of missile strength to 522. They don't have armor piercing damage, but they have the burnt effect that reduce leadership and the fire. They are explosive like the Grudge Thrower, and they have 6 volleys per machine. A reload time of 10 seconds, so they will be very fast at dealing damage, and this compensates the very short range of 280. They are the ultimate artillery piece for dwarves. You can use them in the late campaign, but yeah, keep in mind that it's better to get also a longer range artillery to have the range superiority. But yeah, they really annihilate units. They are not armor piercing, as I said, so don't focus their fire on heavy armored infantry, but against all the other things, big group of weak infantry, or I mean generally not armored units, they will perform amazingly. I love them. And yeah, they have still not that low arch line of shooting, so you can just keep them at your back, and be careful of friendly fire in this case. Let's continue with the flying machine of dwarves. The first unit will be the Gyrocopter, the normal generic Gyrocopter. Now, first things I have to say about the other stats that are not pure missile is that they have armor of 100, so they are particularly tough in case they are targeted by arrows and other kind of weak missile attacks, and they have a speed of 105. That it's a lot. I mean, it's the Chaos Furies pterodactyls level for saying. So they're very fast, very armored, they can escape many kinds of situations, but still be very careful because they don't have a lot of health, and when they started to be targeted they just go down very soon. Now, about the Gyrocopters themselves, they have 12 entities. They have a couple of bombs as a secondary ability that you can drop over the head of your enemy, a range of 100, that is not that much, but if you consider that it's still a fast moving flying units, it's okay. A damage of 40 armor piercing, and there a reload time of 80, and I mean 25 ammunition. So they're very versatile. 25 ammunition, that it's not that much because you will need at some point to replenish their ammo with the characters, because I mean it always happens like that. Now, they are very good with the bombs. You will have a very strong attack that you can use just a couple of times, and the damage itself is very good against large units. For example, even against monsters, you can go to the back of your enemy and hit them from there. Focus mostly on cavalry, monsters and single entity, and you will see that they are quite overpowered for their tier and price. The second kind of Gyrocopter is the Brimstone, I mean the flaming attack Gyrocopters. In this case they have all the other stats about armor and speed, but they have a short range of 60 that it's very short. I mean, it's almost not a missile attack. And they have a damage, not ammo piercing, but with the burnt effect that reduce leadership and flame effect of 133. They are still 12 entities, so they will deal a lot of damage to weak, not armored units like infantry, cavalry, and so on. Probably you should not focus the fire on single entities or character, and in this case you have to be very careful, because if the enemy has another missile units, flying units, and with the short range they require, they will be a very easy target. But in case the enemy has no missile attack, no flying units, they would just bring the havoc to the battlefield. You can play with them, but be careful, because you have just 15 ammunition. With that, yeah, it's very low, and they will run out of ammo very soon. In this case, I would suggest you to put off the auto fire, so you can decide every time to which target to hit, and in this case they will deal far more damage to multiple and more units. The third flying machine we're gonna talk about is the Gyrobomber. The Gyrobomber are just 4. They have far more bombs that are 11. That they will perform longer. Dropping these bombs over the head of your enemies. They have still an armor of 100, but a speed of 90, so they will be slower. And this, you should keep this into consideration, because if you deal with faster units in the sky, it can be a problem. Now, the missile attack itself has a 130 range, the longer for now about flying machine, and a damage of 507. It's ammo piercing, it has explosive damage, and he has the suppress effect that reduces the speed of unit, and 8 volleys per shot. Now, this is everything very nice, because against like characters, single entities, and monster, and in general heavy stuff, they are just incredible. I mean, they can tear apart great demons and big lizards, everything. They are amazing. The range is still a little short, so yeah, you have to be careful to how you move around. But if you do everything properly, you will see that they destroy everything, literally everything, from characters to monsters. Even if you can try to flank, to hit the flank of infantry, because with their penetrative shots they will still deal a great amount of damage. If with other units I say like okay, just bring a couple of them to your army, in this case I can tell you they are doom stackable, so you can fill completely your army of them, and you will be always happy about. Now, the last unit that we were all waiting for is the Thunderbarge. Where I can start? It's a very particular and unique unit in this game. It has a lot of missile attacks. It has this armor of 90 and speed of 30. The speed is a key factor, because you cannot just move it around. You have to think of it like an artillery piece that requires a high defense and protection, and in case your enemy has a lot of missile attacks or flying units, you have to be very careful and have some fire cover, because dwarves have not flying melee war machines, so you have to have a fire cover to protect them by missile infantry, by flying units and everything. In that case, they will start to deal damage to the enemy. As you can see, there is this missile. The missile stat itself is 1 meter of range, with this big amount of ammunition of 40, and the damage of 110, normal piercing, and nothing. In this case, it is referred exclusively to the bombs that they are dropping to the head, over the head of the enemy, when they are over the enemy itself. There are many other attacks that are not mentioned in the missile stats themselves. There are some dwarves throwing their grenades from the balloon. Then there are all the thunderers that are on the ships. and there are a couple of frontal cannons that can turn around and hit in many directions. So it's not just about the bombs, it's not yeah, it's quite misleading reading the stats card itself. Then there are all these very nice ability. It encourages the dwarves that, I mean, they have high leadership generally, but it can always help. Then some of the riders I mentioned before, they have infinite ammunition, so you can just use them as much as you want. They have an ability to increase their speed, but dealing damage to the unit itself. So in this case you can escape easier situation, because yeah, the speed will be just the double, more than the double of that, and it will have some issues turning when it will be in this mode. And yeah, remember that you are dealing damage to the unit. Sometimes I forgot this at the beginning, and at the beginning of Thrones Decay, and I was ending up with a unit just down. And then there is the Spear of Grungy, that is this incredible long range missile ability that shot this big spear against a monster, a character, and with a couple of them you can just the enemy character is just away. This is another very OP unit, so you can fill your army of as many as you want of them. And yeah, as I said, be careful for the fire cover, but they have basically no weaknesses. Maybe just the short range, so they are not an actually artillery piece, but yeah, they still have a lot of health. So even if they are dealing against a long range, for example the Bone Giant of Tom King's, they will require a lot of time to go down.